Everyone, welcome. So let's introduce the man of the hour. So I actually met this guy, I believe in 2007, 2008. And, since then kind of worked with him on, side projects here and there. And, yeah, definitely have I've seen his growth and just kind of him do big things. And it's really cool seeing homies do big things. And I thought it'd be pretty cool to have him talk about like his, voice acting and acting in video games and all that cool stuff and kind of his journey to get there. Because, definitely when I had a chat with him earlier this week, he had some really cool stuff to talk about. And I definitely, I think you guys will enjoy it. So, everyone, let's give it up for Mr. Earl Baylon.
Yo, what's up, everybody? How's it going?
Sorry, the kids.
That's all good.
Let's
Right.
start off. So, where were you born? And where were you born?
So I was born in a long time ago. In the am I going to share my age? I don't know. I was born a long time ago in the East Hollywood neighborhood of Los Angeles, in a small hospital called Hollywood Presbyterian over there on Vermont. It's like tucked behind the Kaiser Permanente. So I was born there, and then my parents, when I was pretty young, I want to say like a year old, they moved to Long Beach to be with relatives. So that's where I ended up actually growing up, in Long Beach, California.
LBC.
Yes, sir. Oh my God, look at that picture. That's my kindergarten picture. So, yeah, that is. I think that's either Carson. I think that's Carson right there. Yeah, and then this is me, and as you can tell, I've always been weird and bowl cutted. I think that was over in. This is actually Long Beach right here. This is.
You can tell, yeah.
I forgot what park this is, but this no longer exists. This was a man-made lake, and they covered it up. It's like the Pikes, whatever it's called now. It's Entertainment Center, and that's me.
Yeah, man. We'll talk about that.
Taking
So
Kenpo karate.
Yeah. So what? So you said I think your parents actually met here, and
Yes.
Your mom was a nurse, and your dad, I think you said, worked possibly in the pharmaceutical industry. You think maybe?
He worked in medical supplies. So
medical supplies. Okay.
yeah. So he did
like
that.
Every Filipino parent, right? What's up to the Filipino nurse moms, man? Right here.
I know.
Put a one in the chat for the Filipino moms, nurses, or
Filipino.
You know what? And the nurses too. Shout out to
And
all
the nurses, yeah. To all the male nurses, and any if anybody has had parents in the healthcare industry, you know what's up.
Yeah, for sure, man. So so from there, you said I think you moved to Long Beach after a year. I think you said.
Yeah, I was like about a year old,
and
I spent pretty much all. I mean, I was in Long Beach until I moved away to Irvine for college. So it was it was an interesting time, to say the least. But as you said, man, like growing up in wherever you grow up, that kind of shapes you, and definitely that was the case for me with Long Beach. In all the facets. I mean, I grew up in a very particular part of Long Beach. Like my parents, where our house was called the Wrigley area, and it was kind of on the other side. It was closer to the freeway, but where my elementary school was, and like kind of just where I hung out most of the time, was a place on the west side of Long Beach, specifically a neighborhood called the Sugar Cove. And west side Long Beach, if not a lot of people know, is like heavily Filipino. So I grew up not knowing I was different, and my elementary school was like 80% Filipino. It's a Catholic school, and I want to say the student body was 80% Filipino. So like I said, I grew up thinking that being brown and like a person of color was like normal. I thought we were like, everybody looked like us.
Yeah, for sure. So during that time, not like me. Unfortunately, I didn't get to, but I believe you participate in a lot of extracurricular activities. We
Yeah,
saw that there, the martial arts and piano.
right. Yeah, all that stuff, right? It's kind of funny because um, I did a lot of that stuff. I did martial arts because I wanted to do it because back then it was Ernie Race Jr. was
Yeah.
just coming up, Sidekicks. He was in Red
Yep.
Sonja, all that stuff, and I wanted to be like Ernie Race Jr. So my mom put me in karate classes. I took those for like 3 or 4 years, and then music was a big thing at my elementary school, and they were again being like 80% Filipino. Like everybody was into like their the musicals and then their Christmas programs, and they so happened to have a traveling nun who came to the school and then started a music program basically at St. Lucie. And she started giving private lessons, and my mom signed me up for that. Me and my sister up for that. um she signed me up for guitar lessons and my sister up for piano lessons when I was 9, and eventually I started taking piano too, and I guess that was kind of the beginning of like me like performing like seriously. Like there's that picture of me with that is a big 9-year-old. Look at that kid, 10-year-old maybe. Again, see the hair, it just stays the same no matter like what year it is. It's like I kept that same haircut for like 10 years.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, Ernie
Cool.
Harris was he was Kino, right?
Yeah, Kino. He was
TMNT2.
Kino too. Yeah, exactly. TMNT2. Secret of the Ooze, right? Wasn't
Secret of the Use. Yeah, man.
that? Yeah.
Babies. They're babies.
So yeah, so it seemed like piano kind of stuck with you. Martial arts, you kind of stopped that for a little bit, right? And
Yeah.
yeah,
Piano guitar was really what stuck, and that was the thing that like along with guitar came like singing and all that stuff, because I don't know if y'all remember like during this part of the 90s, like Boys to Men became a thing, and like a cappella groups Jodeci, Shy, for example, all of them, all that became a thing, and there was a lot of kids my age that wanted to do the same thing, and that's how we got groups like Kai and Drop in Harmony and Pinay and Forte and One Voice and all that, and that's just yeah, we were part of that, and of course we were as successful or as popular as them, but like that's definitely something that we were striving to be. So I was actually part of like a 3-person a cappella group, and we had one song that we knew, and it was the Boys to Men arrangement of the Star Spangled Banner.
nice, nice.
Yeah. And we tried to sing it everywhere, man. We're just like, hey, yo, does anybody need somebody to sing the national anthem? We got you.
Yeah, nice. So then, so middle school happened and high school, right?
Right.
I believe you said you went to Catholic school. You continued your
Again, dude.
Catholic school, yeah.
Mhm.
Throw twos in the chat for anyone in elementary school and high school Catholic schools.
Yo, dude, for real.
Yeah.
It was just kind of the thing that happened, right? Like the elementary school that I went to, like so many of us just went on to do Catholic high school, because that was like the only Catholic high school in the city, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went to Catholic high school, kept on doing my thing until being time and place, right? It's like 90s Long Beach.
Yeah. So to set this for everyone, if you all remember, like 90s was like huge with gangster rap and all that stuff. So this is Long Beach, LBC. What majority of the songs we're talking about during that time.
Right.
So, tell how that was, man.
Dude, it was crazy, man. And like I think as when I was living in it, it gets downplayed like in your head, because you just think it's kind of normal, and especially when it's getting covered like that by the media as well, and by music. You just think that's what every place is like the whole like gang culture. That was a thing, if you were a teenage like male, especially, going around and having to watch your back and like getting sweated all the time, like asking where you're from, your friends getting beat up, or like having to create groups of friends, party crews, dance crews, and all that stuff, just to have like some kind of association, just to have like people have your back.
Yeah.
That was definitely a thing that happened.
Yeah, so let's talk about because when you mentioned that to me, I was like, what is this party cruise? If for
Party
people who don't
crews.
really know much about party cruise, kind of if you can talk about that a little bit.
So I know it's kind of hard. I can talk about like my party crew or like kickback crew experience. Basically, you're just like a bunch of friends. You were always kicking it anyway, and you're all homies. But like you would roll around to parties together, and I mean, but the thing is that I guess made it like kind of official is that you all had a name, so you all give each other a name, like just and I guess in that way, a lot of the times like the line would be blurred between like what a gang was and like what a party crew was, because I don't know, I feel like sometimes something like that could bleed into each other. So we had party crews out in like Long Beach. They had different names. The one jeez, the one that I was in was called Devious. And then we had friends that were ones and like called Strictly Hardcore Players and like Lunatics Going Crazy. It's a whole thing, man. It's just I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard to like if you look at that to discern it just by name from like from people who are actually banging,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and so I'm sure some people in your cruise, did any of them like kind of get caught up in that, or did you get caught up in it, or?
Dude, I mean, it's one of those things where like again, it's like it is so pervasive, it's so prevalent in that time and place that you couldn't help but get caught up into it. And like when you were like even when you were just going around just partying with your friends, you would get caught up in stuff all the time.
Yeah.
I remember like, and this even extended to when I was in college. I mean, if you're in the Filipino club in college, you remember friendship games, right? Did you
Yeah.
ever go to friendship games?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
So like my sophomore year, um and it's always at Cal State Fullerton. So my sophomore year, I went to friendship games with Cabo Bayan because I went to UC Irvine, and Cabo is the Filipino club at Irvine, and I'm chilling there at UC Irvine with like, I mean, it's Cal State Fullerton with like my Irvine peeps, and then I see the homies from back home,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
rolling there, and I was like, hey, yo, what's up? And we're kicking it for a bit, and because I hadn't seen them in months. I've been off at college at Irvine. We're kicking it for a hot second, and then I'm like, hey, yo, I gotta go with the club. And they're like, cool. And as we're hanging out at friendship games, this whole hoopla starts happening. Like people are running, people are screaming, cops come down, lock the entire place down.
What
And
year was this?
this was your freshman year, I want to say.
Oh, okay. Oh, see, yeah. So I didn't go my freshman year.
Oh, okay.
That's why I didn't hear. Okay, but go ahead.
So yeah, this is your freshman year, and
Yeah.
yeah, they shut down friendship games like that year. Got on lock because apparently there was a big old fight, and like some people got stabbed or something like that.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, man, that's crazy. Who would do that? I go home a few weeks later, and they're like, hey, yo, the homies are like, hey, yo, did you hear what happened to blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah at friendship games? And I was like, what? And dude, they got into this fight. And I was like, no. So that fight that shut down friendship games were my friends that I was kicking it with it,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
not minutes before. they had run into like not a rival party crew, but like a party crew that they had beef with at a party like weeks ago in Carson. And they ran into each other at friendship games. Beef, shit went down, and friendship games got shut down. So I mean, you just get pulled into it, and that was stuff from the that had happened weeks ago at just a party. Nobody was banging, but like things just happened.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. Yeah, so I know like in high school you were saying kind of like you kind of those activities you kind of put by the wayside, right? And then you kind of started focusing on it later on in your high school career.
Right.
Yeah, like was there anything that was there a reason for that or
yeah, I mean like so being a kid during that time, like we were talking, Julius, about like how I was doing the arts stuff, performing and doing guitar, singing, all that stuff. But when you get to that age, like 14, 15, 16, I don't know, just something changes. You're worried about being cool, about fitting in, and that was what I was worrying about. I had stopped all that. I'd stopped like performing. I stopped playing guitar. And I was, for like lack of a better word, I was trying to be a little thug. Look at this dude. See, the funny thing is like to these one guy's like a internet security expert now, and one guy's like a cop.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. So that's the thing. Like during that time, you're just embracing the culture, right? You're embracing what was happening at that time in the media and everything. So yeah, it's crazy. And then of course, you get old and you get a job.
Yeah, exactly. You get it.
Reality kicks in.
Learn. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like you can't be this way forever. Or I mean, like some people do. Some people don't get a chance to learn that. But yeah, that was just me for a while, dude, just being stupid and hanging out. But I guess what happened is one of our friends, that had gone to school with us, that I went to elementary school with a little bit, they were also in the party crew. Bunch of them were playing outside. Were playing basketball outside in the Cove, and then like they got rolled up on. Some dudes started blasting. One of my friends, Patrick, he got shot, multiple times. Was on life support for like for a week, and he passed away.
Yeah.
And that happened, I think, my junior year or senior year in college or in high school, and that kind of hit me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that right then it kind of became real, and I had I had a serious conversation with myself, and I was like, what I want for myself is not what does not align with the path I'm following right now. Like I've always wanted to I wanted to get out of Long Beach, and I just got real with myself, and I realized, and I told myself that being cool, it's not that important. It's not this is not as important as like who you actually are. And I knew that deep down inside, I wanted to like what was important to me was like performing and like creating things and all that. So like I started to embrace that again. In high school, like I would always see the drama classes, drama club. They would put on plays every semester, and I never wanted to be associated with that because it was in my eyes at the time it was uncool.
Yeah.
But once Patrick, once he passed away, once he was shot, like I was like, I can't be fucking around anymore. So I was like, I'm gonna do this. I want to do this. This is something that I've always wanted to do. This is something I felt a calling to do. So I started embracing that again, embracing performing again, and embracing acting. And so my last 3 or 4 like semesters in high school, I did the school productions. We did Grease, we did Harvey, we did Dames at Sea, and like performing became a thing for me again. So yeah.
So yeah, so from that point, yeah, it became a turning point, right? And then college. I like to do this with all the interviewees, like labeling the moments in your life, right? So now we call
Right.
college, right? It's the awakening, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you went to UC Irvine, and
Right.
you said that was the only place you applied to. Go ahead and tell how they
Yeah,
laid
man.
that in your head.
Yeah, man. Okay. All right. So as a kid, dude, I was honestly, I was a nerdy kid. I mean, you do standardized testing as a kid, and at least they did for us, like in grade school. And I don't know what they did with the stuff really, but like, they, somehow like UC Irvine got a hold of these scores or whatever, and I don't know what venue that happens, but like I got picked up to do like an academic talent search. Basically, what they did was they picked up like a bunch of kids that were between the ages of I think the junior high to first year in high school, so up to freshman year, and they brought them all to UC Irvine, and then as freshmen, as that age, had them take the SAT. So I took the SAT as a freshman, and they had a prep course. They brought us to, like I said, they brought us to the campus, and that was one of the first times, I had a taste of what life looked like outside of Long Beach. And I remember in at that moment, I was like, I'm going to this school, I'm going to this school right here. So when time came around junior year to apply for colleges, I only applied for one. I only applied for one school. I only applied for UC Irvine. And I got in. I mean, part of that too was that, like, we didn't have any money to apply for any other school. I had to choose one, and that was one I chose. And luckily, I made it in. Zot.
Cool. So let's say Irvine, right? Awakening.
Yeah,
So
man.
you start participating in all these activities. You were in a Kaba, which is the Filipino group, or Kababayan,
Right.
which is the Filipino group there. What did you come in as though? What was your major?
Biological sciences. So I was a bio major, pre-med basically.
Yeah.
So I took all those classes: biology, chemistry. Hey, what's up, Arcade Chris? What's up, Jamar? I took all that stuff, science classes, microbiology, and there's Arcade Chris. And yeah, man, I mean, I was science through and through, especially the first 2 years. But at the same time, as part of being in Kaba, we're doing PCN, and that was kind of like in my head, but also PCN, and I was also part of this choir called Uniting Voices, and in the back of my head, that was kind of what kept me sane, despite doing all this science work and trying to become a doctor, I was still performing to some capacity. I was singing in this choir and doing like solo acts in this choir, but also performing in PCNs, doing the acting for the skit portion. If nobody has ever seen a PCN or a PACN, it stands for Filipino Culture Night or Filipino American Culture Night. Basically, it's a whole bunch of cultural dances, different suites. They break it up into like Maria Clara or Cordillera and Muslim suite, all that stuff. And then the entire show is kind of held together by what most schools call a skit portion. It's like a story, a play that kind of holds the entire thing together. And that's what I did. I did a skit at Irvine for all the years I was at Irvine, basically.
So where did you write too, or you're just mainly acting in them and singing?
For the first all the years I was actually a student, I was just acting and singing. The year after I graduated, me and Arcade Chris here in chat actually co-wrote and directed the skit portion of PCN. So we wrote we wrote the we wrote the script and then wrote like 4 or 5 original songs, I want to say,
Nice.
for that. So yeah, I kept busy doing that stuff.
Yeah.
What kind of really kind of shifted my paradigm though was like my after.
So let's be clear here. Let's really clear here. I think you're kind of like we're glossing over it, right? At this point, you didn't see a career in acting, right? It was just like a way for you to get away. You just thought you're going to be a doctor or work in the medical field somehow, right? And yeah, so that was your thought. And like you said, you're using this to get away, and but you're enjoying it, right? And so I think you're about to mention this right here. There was a turning point, right, in your third year.
Right, there was a turning point in my third year. And like Julie said, this, and this is kind of just the way it is, it seems, with Filipinos, second generation immigrants, children of immigrants, people of color, is like the arts, that's not real, and you get that drilled in you from the very beginning, from a very young age. The arts is not real. It's like, it's not a real way to like make a living or like make your way through life. You got to have a real job, and then like you can play on the side. Despite the fact that your parents put all this money and resources into like teaching you these skills, sending you to these classes and everything, and with the goal of like, I don't know, just so you could be more well-rounded. I'm not exactly sure, but there we are. Okay, sorry, but yeah, with the hope of you becoming more well-rounded, but again, it was still just something to be a hobby. So that's the attitude I had like throughout most of college. And then after my second year at Irvine, the second year of bio at Irvine is like the hardest. And it's like the make it or break year. Like if you make it through that, then you're gonna finish as a bio major basically. And it was a tough year, not just like for school, but just like emotionally and everything. And after that year, I had a roommate. His name is Andy. He was like, "Hey man, second year was tough. I think for a third year, he suggested that we both take an acting class, the intro acting class at Irvine." And I was like, "Yeah, man, if you do it, I'll do it with you." So I signed up for that first acting class at Irvine. It's called Drama 30A. It's basically intro to acting, movement, a little bit of improv. But I signed up for it, and I was hooked. I was real hooked, because this is the first time I was ever like in the formal acting class, and I don't know, it kind of just awoke something in me that that there were other people that were actually doing this with hopes of making it a living, and that it was something that could be possibly a living for other people, and not just like this weird pie in the sky dream of you see these A-list celebrities making millions of dollars, but there are also other people that those people started somewhere, and some of those people may have started in that class. So it became a little more concrete to me, and it definitely shifted the way I thought about it. And from then on, I kind of obsessed about acting, outside of school. It was something I wanted to do. I just never knew how to do it.
So take that sip. So let's fast forward. So what did you end up finishing in college with?
Still biological sciences, with an emphasis in comparative anatomy and physiology. So
no, amazing. Okay.
I know.
So post college,
Right,
Yeah, so I like to call this for your section. I call this the adventure begins.
right, right, right.
So you graduated, and I believe you started working at a lab, right?
I did.
Yeah.
I started working at a lab, not like a serious. I wasn't doing like PCRs or like any kind of assays or anything. It was kind of like an
What
entry
is all
level
that?
lab,
Sorry, sorry, that
like
was all foreign to me.
like so like a PCR is basically whenever you see like um in like a TV show when they test people's DNA and then you see
Uh-huh.
this thing and they have like stripes on like in columns.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's a PCR basically. It's
Oh,
a
okay, okay.
so I wasn't doing anything like that, and they usually use that for like uh genotyping, like maybe bacteria or like
Yeah.
viruses, all that stuff.
Okay.
Um, but I yeah, I wasn't that. I was in the specimen processing lab, so it was basically uh um entry level, like this is people where people start,
Yeah, yeah.
and so I did that for a year, and I was working a weird kind of schedule, and that entire time I wasn't performing. I was out of school. um I didn't have a place to perform anymore, and I was honestly losing my mind.
Yeah.
um and that was for like a year after school. Even then, the year following, like I was still working a job um at a mortgage company after I had quit the lab.
Oh.
But it was at this time, like me and Arcade Chris in chat right now, we were living together in Costa Mesa, and with two other roommates, and we're all Chris. I should say this. Me and Chris, Arcade Chris in chat, we actually met in Drama 38, that first acting class at Irvine. So that's where I met that dude, and then we started doing like all this like choir together, and some other like extracurricular activities like PCN. And he's who I wrote again a PCN with. But we were roommates after college, and he had signed up. So he's a performer as well. He was also working a job at the time at like a software retailer, and he had signed up for a backstage account. So backstage is that the industry publication,
Mhm.
and they have a section in the back for like casting calls and all that stuff. So he had signed up for that to look for acting gigs, and yeah, pretty crappy jobs, man. And it was hard, man. We were trying to find places to perform, and it was hard because we're in Orange County. And honestly, it might be different now, but like back then, culture was not, there was not a lot of culture in Orange County. You know, you had to
Yeah.
try extra hard to find it. And so we were looking for places to perform, didn't really find anything. He had a backstage account, was looking through there, looking for acting gigs and all that. And it was just wearing down on us when he got to a point where he was like, I think I'm going to unsubscribe from this backstage account. And he went through it looking for like one last time to see if he found anything. And he found an opening or a casting call for an Asian American improv troupe based in Los Angeles that was looking for people to just looking for improvisers. We both saw it. He showed it to me, and I was like, oh man, we should apply for this. So we did that. We both applied. We both got in, and that was in 2005, and we've been doing it ever since. And honestly, like Room to Improv, it's called Room to Improv. It's an Asian American theater group, improvisational theater group serving the LA community and beyond. So yeah, we've been doing that, and Room to Improv was kind of like my launching pad for my entire acting career, basically. Through Room to Improv, I gathered skills like improv skills, stage skills, but also connections, connections and people who had more experience in the entertainment field that were able to guide me into trying to turn this into something real.
Mhm. Yeah. So then after that, Women Improv 2, I think a couple years later, you found another, I guess, organization or sketch comedy show.
Right. So what happened there was sketch comedy show, which is was a comedy portion of Project Newspeak, which is an organization started by Eddie Kim. Him and one of his college buddies, Brian Corpus, who are actually part of they both went to UC Berkeley, and they were part of Theater Rice, which was UC Berkeley's like collegiate they're like they're on campus like theater group, right? So they took what they had learned in college and they wanted to do that again in like the general community here in Los Angeles. So they were looking to assemble a team of people, and me and Chris again, we both submitted for that. We both got in again, and we were doing that for 5 years. We did sketch different places, a whole bunch of places, East West Players. We performed at the Hollywood Improv, Laugh Factory, IO West, bunch of different places. We flew out to Boston for a show. We did a few colleges. So I mean, we were doing that. We were doing sketch competitions, and
you guys actually won a couple. Yeah,
we won a few. We won like the first sketch match at IO West. We won this thing called the International Sketch Comedy Championships that were held at the Hollywood Improv and previously at the Laugh Factory. But yeah, we got a lot of experience under our belts, a lot of writing experience, a lot of performing experience. We got to perform at the Comedy Central stages at the Hudson Theaters. We were artists in residence with the LA Comedy Festival. So I mean, we did a lot of stuff. We did that for 5 years, and I learned a lot of things there and made a lot of connections. I think the biggest one really was when we performed at the International Sketch Comedy Championships at the Hollywood Improv. After that, there was a lot of industry in the audience, and I got contacted by a couple of agents that day. You know, I mean, after that showcase, and I signed with with representation. So that kind of that shifted everything into high gear, basically, for at least then high gear for me back. You know, it shifted my career into kind of high gear. Yeah. It meant that like, you know.
So during that time, you're still working a day job. You're still working in the. What were you doing in the lab still, or?
No, at this point, I was working at a video game blog. So like I was doing and retail. So I was doing a little bit of like customer service, but also writing for the blog and taking customer service calls. And yeah, I remember it was tough because like I was there stuck at a desk. I was still self-submitting to stuff. And I remember even, you know, before doing the sketch comedy, the championships, I remember saying to myself, like, all right, you know, I'm just going to lay down low for a little bit with the acting stuff. I'm going to accumulate some money and just so I could, you know, make a bigger push to do like getting headshots and all that stuff. All the kind of like capital investment that you need to start like make a good push in acting. And then the sketch comedy championships happened and I got representation, and all of a sudden I was getting sent out to stuff and while working at a day job. And that is, I don't know, that was hard, man. That was like hard trying to balance that stuff. You know, trying to get time off, make time off, get time off work to go to auditions. There were several times where I was just like, I was, you know, I had to lie. I was straight up lying to my, you know, boss, like, hey, yo, my car broke down, or I have this family emergency, or I got to take my mom to the doctors, or, you know, a whole, whatever I could whatever I could do to try to get out of work just so I could get to auditions. I mean, eventually got fired from that job, so yay. I don't know.
Yeah, it's sometimes just you need that push. You know what I mean? Like I think you're
Right.
probably like, oh, let me just hold on to this or whatever, and
Right.
you're probably worried and you're like, you know what? That actually was the universe telling you like, hey, Earl, let's do this. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah. Forcing me to
you
do
gotta,
it.
yeah. So from that point, I kind of call this the adventure continues and skyrockets, right?
Right.
So you had your first representation, but then I think it didn't work out so well, right? And you moved
The,
on to another one.
right. Well, I had representation before this, but they were like not the greatest. And
Yeah.
I mean it wasn't really serious with them. I actually parted ways with them maybe a few months before the sketch comedy championships. But like I signed with a an agency called KMR, which is um at the time called KSA, and they were a pretty they were a really legit agency, especially like commercially, and so I really lucked out there, um because somebody in our sketch comedy group, she was rep by them already, Leslie Ann Huff, and she brought her agents out, they saw me, and then they signed me, and it was a lot of serendipity. But
Yeah.
yeah, this agency, they submitted me for a lot of stuff. I mean, I commercials here and there with them, and one day, my agent, one of the agents, Jamie, she sends me out on this thing, and we don't know what it is. It says that it's a motion capture work. I'm not sure if it's like animation or whatever, but I go out on the audition, and I have the audition sides during a little break in the audition process. I'm talking to the person who's auditing on the other side of the table, and I asked them, because it's motion capture work, I'm like, is this like an animation or is it like a video game? I'm not exactly sure what kind of project this is. And he says, oh, it's a video game. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Is it I let him know that, I I said, oh, I kind of work in the industry. I'm like at the time I'm a game tester, and at Activision. I was like, oh yeah, I kind of work in the industry. And he was like, oh yeah, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I'm a game tester. And he gives me this like, oh, okay,
Cool.
sure,
That's a cool
I
guy.
guess. I
Yeah.
guess that counts. But I asked him, oh, is it a big game? And he was like, yeah, it's a pretty big game. I later find out that the guy on the other side of the table who I'm talking to, his name is Toby Gard. He's like widely regarded as one of the people who created Lara Croft.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know where this is leading eventually. I get a call back, and then when I get a call from my agent to ask me to sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, and I look at the top of the non-disclosure agreement, and it says Crystal Dynamics, Square Enix company. And being a lifelong gamer, I see a Square Enix company on the NDA, and I'm like, what
Oh my
the hell
goodness.
is this? And all of a sudden, I want this gig, and that's kind of like kiss of death, for a gig. You never want it, because like once you want it and like you are let down, it's the worst thing ever. So you always hope for the best. But anyway, I signed the NDA, and a few days later, while I'm backstage at a Room to Improv show, I get an email, or first of all, I get a missed call from my agent, but I'm backstage, so I don't answer it. And then they send me an email, and they tell me in the email, oh, hey, that thing that you were auditioning for, you booked it, and it's a Tomb Raider. They're making a new Tomb Raider, and you're in it. And I'm like, what? I immediately like start losing my mind, but I can't tell anybody because I had signed an NDA and I'm backstage at a show. So they see me freak out, but and they're asking, what's going on? What's going on? And I'm like, I don't know, man. It's something good, but I can't say it. I'll tell you in 3 years.
3 years is a long time too, man.
You know, it ended up being like 2 years because I think I booked
Okay.
in 2011 and
Yeah.
the game came out in 2013. So yeah, 2 years.
Okay.
But still, 2 years is a long time.
Yeah.
And but yeah, that's I booked a Tomb Raider game. The
Yeah.
first, that first reboot game out of kind of nowhere. Had no idea what it was, but I was just in the right place in the right time and prepared, you know, and lucky,
Yeah.
very lucky.
Yeah. And since then, you've had 3 games you've done, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's turned out to be a trilogy.
Yeah.
Um and I'm very lucky in that the character, Jonah, I play a character named Jonah Maiava, and he's basically Lara's like right hand man.
Yeah.
And oh, look at that. That's the last day on shoot on the first Tomb Raider. And this is the last day of shoot on the third one.
Yeah.
And
That's awesome.
I yeah, they just happen to like the creators, the storytellers, they happen to pick Jonah, that character, as the one that moves on through all 3 games. And
Mhm.
yeah, I'm just super lucky, man. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, well, actually, I got a little clip that I pulled from your reel that we can play for a little bit here.
Yeah, for sure, dude.
So it's kind of cool seeing the side by side with the mocap and everything. So let
Right.
me see if this works.
He'll use the box and the knife to remake the wall.
To remake it into what?
I don't know. He thinks he can rid it of sin and weakness. We have to stop him. It's all my fault.
We'll figure it out, okay? I promise.
No, 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 no! We have to get to the hidden city before Trinity. We have to find the silver box.
Okay? But first, we're gonna help these people get to safety, and then we'll go after the box.
No, no one is safe. Not if he gets the box first. I have to go. I'm the only one.
You're the only one that can what? You don't know that you caused all this, Lara? Not everything is about you. These people need us here. We can do good now. Besides, what do we gotta go on? A riddle? We're gonna need more than pink fish and silver crowns to get to the hidden city.
Man,
Yeah,
that was intense.
I know, right?
That
But
guy
that's
was
the
that guy was that guy was mad.
Dang, it's so
Dang.
crazy, man. How much like video games have progressed and just developed over the years. It's amazing.
Isn't it nuts? It's
crazy.
so like I have a friend that's playing Final Fantasy 10 right now on stream, and I widely credit Final Fantasy 10 as the game that made me want to act in video games.
Oh yeah,
And and watching that, just kind of seeing where the voice acting has progressed since then, it's gotten a lot more like
yeah.
real, a lot more cinematic.
Mhm.
People will debate whether or not that's a good thing, but I don't know. I just think like, there's a lot of care and a lot of time and a lot of effort put into making video games have a real story these days, and have some real like good acting moments, real emotional beats and everything. So yeah, absolutely, I agree with you. It's come a very long way.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll actually go more into depth with the voice acting versus acting and all that stuff, and we'll have a little
Right.
Q&A afterwards. But I want to go on with your journey for a little bit first before we
For sure.
come back to that. So obviously you coming, being in a video game,
Right.
the natural thing, obviously, and you being a big gamer, like during this time, of course you got to go to the cons, right?
Right.
So you start hitting up the cons, right, to kind of promote the game, and I think
Right.
even after the game was released and the other subsequent games were released, how was that experience for you to be like like being in the audience and all of a sudden you're like, hey, you're there. People are like seeking you out, asking for autographs and all that stuff, and you just
Dude,
being,
it's weird. It's super surreal even now. I still remember, I haven't quite gotten here yet. I remember going to Comic-Con as a fan,
Mhm.
like even a few years ago, and I remember sitting there in line, and I was like, I was already working in the entertainment industry at the time, and I remember sitting there. I was like, man, I'm not going to come back here. This is after like Comic-Con had really blown up, and it was really hard to get into panels sometimes and all that. And I remember sitting there saying to myself, I'm like, I'm not going to come back here until like I'm sitting on one of those panels. And I
Wow.
mean, a few years later, it happened. When we went, it was for Rise of the Tomb Raider. Um, Megan, Megan Marie, who works at Crystal Dynamics, she invited me to sit on the panel for Rise of the Tomb Raider, and I was like, as as a growing up nerd, I was like, I can't. Of course, yes, 100%. I'm be there. I'll be on this panel. It's like a dream, kind of. And
Yeah.
I remember, I was so nervous that first panel. I think that's it right there. That picture right there is right before that first panel, my first Comic-Con panel. I remember turning to Camilla, who plays Lara Croft. I turned to her like right before it, and I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna shit bricks right now." And she was like, "You're fine. It's because she's a veteran. She's
Yeah.
on Grey's Anatomy, and like
Yeah.
she's been doing promo for Tomb Raider for like years before I have." And she's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, you're fine. You're gonna be good. You're gonna be great." And yeah, I mean, it was a big deal, man. And I had all these friends in the audience because of course my friends were already there to just attend Comic-Con in general, but to have them in the audience during my first panel was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
They even like accused me of stacking the audience. Like, Earl, did you stack the audience? Because I feel like the applause for you was kind of loud. I'm like, it's my hometown, man. Not San Diego, but
Yeah.
everybody from LA is here today. So
Yeah. I mean, it's only like what, 2.5 hour. I mean, just depends
right,
on
right,
traffic
right.
drive, right?
And literally, like, if you are not in San Diego during Comic-Con and you're still here in LA is empty. It's
Yeah. Oh yeah.
empty during
Yeah.
Comic-Con.
Yeah. Yeah,
At least
man.
the industry is empty.
Yeah. I remember going to those cons. I mean, back then. Shout out to Xbox Comic Con crew. What's up? You guys are out there.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, those were the days, man. But yeah, it's gotten crazy the last
It really has.
the
Oh, there's
last
E3.
couple of years. Yeah. So yeah, you've been to E3 obviously, and Comic Con, and yeah, man, it's awesome to kind of. I just can't imagine like you just being like, oh, here you go, VIP. What's up, man? Like to be like a
Walking down
fan.
a path, like surrounded by
Yeah.
security. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, man.
I
That's
remember,
awesome.
man, rolling up to E3, like rolling up to the back entrance in my limo. That was nuts, man.
Yeah. Oh shit.
I was
You're
like,
like,
what is going on right now?
you're like, hold on. Am I
I
me?
know, this is my car.
Yeah.
This guy is here for me. It
That's
was,
awesome,
yeah.
man. That's awesome. So yeah, so from that point, from obviously, so like we mentioned before, you did 3 games since then, and like work has picked up for you, but you've also done like you still have done some other side passion projects, right?
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. So it's still like I'm still doing Room to Improv.
yeah,
Room to Improv, I'm actually the artistic director for Room to Improv right now. Of course, we're taking a break because of COVID.
yeah.
That
You guys
right
should
there
do
is support.
definitely. You guys should definitely do a Zoom. I mean, there's a lot of cats like doing like Zoom type of things, or I don't know if that
Right.
work for you guys, but you guys should try doing something like that for sure.
We
Yeah.
kind of tried it, and I don't think we found like a kind of a formula that quite works yet. I'm trying to
Gotcha.
figure out, and it's weird because despite the fact that we're in pandemic, I feel like still immensely busy. So
Yeah,
I'm working on that definitely.
for sure.
But like, yeah, you're showing some pics from like Supportive White Parents, which
Yeah.
is a 1 hour musical that I'm in at Second City, written Joy Regagliano. She wrote, and the book for that. Music by the Sam and Tony Show. Um, and yeah, there's me with G, G Tonji, and yeah, we're a premium show at the Second City, so we've been doing that. That's been great. I hope we can get back to that once you know, pandemic lifts.
Mhm.
Really good show, really funny, very very real and very personal story that Joy wrote. So and the music is great. So there's that.
Yeah.
I've been working on Lumpia with a Vengeance. We
Yeah.
just we're still currently at the Hawaii International Film Fest. After 7 years of working on it, you know, I've been on the project since day one, basically, helping with story, um, as a writer and eventually as an associate producer on the project. Um, yeah, we've been doing that for the past 7 years, kickstarting, crowdfunding it, shooting all that. Again, this is like this film after 7 years is finally we got our world premiere at the Hawaii International Film Fest, the 40th annual Hawaii International Film Fest this past November 7th. And even though that was a social distance, like a virtual fest this year for the most part, it feels pretty awesome to be able to have like this product out after all this time.
Yeah.
And Julius, you worked on this as well, didn't you?
Yeah. I worked on the VFX editing, basically.
Right. I
Yeah.
remember seeing your name on the VFX shot
Yeah.
list.
Yeah. Yeah.
The massive. What do we have? Like 600 shots.
Oh my
Something
God.
like that?
It's yeah, I forgot AJ put it together, but the amount of VFX shots were equivalent to like equivalent to any of the VFX, like heavy VFX movies you've seen.
Right.
But yeah, and it's labor of love and, you know, very low budget, but yeah, it was fun times.
Yeah, very low budget, and I think we all did really great for like the amount of money.
Hmm.
You know, whatever money and the funding resources that we lacked, you know, it was all more than accounted for in like dedication and just passion for this project. So
Definitely.
I'm so glad. I'm so happy to see it see the light of day finally.
Yeah, and so if you guys see it, it stars oh my God, why is
Danny
his name
Trejo,
escaping?
Mark Munoz.
Yeah, Mark Munoz, Danny Trejo. But
Right.
yeah, so that's basically that's cool. So you're still doing things, and I know you said for yourself that you've work has been crazy, and so I think this is a good way to lead into it. You know, obviously pandemic and all that stuff. I've
Right.
always, because I work in the industry as well, and you know, amongst my coworkers and I, we've talked about this is probably going to be the year of reality show or animated
Yeah.
animated
Absolutely.
projects, right? So
Right.
and I know for you after Tomb Raider took off, you started picking up more voice acting, right? Like
Yeah.
yeah.
I eventually picked up a voiceover agent, and then like voiceover started picking up a little bit. I ended up doing, you know, some dubbing work for Netflix. So if you ever watch like a foreign show on Netflix and you turn on the English language tracks, you'll hear me. Um, Also, some animation work that I can't talk about quite yet, but
All right.
that's
Nice.
currently in production, and hopefully
Okay.
that'll see the light of day come next year. Yeah, some exciting stuff on the horizon, hopefully.
That's awesome. Yeah. So how has it been acting during the pandemic? Because I know you said obviously you can't really go to the booth, or they've a lot of, you know,
Right.
like as I know, like there's a lot of precautions set in place, right? As a restaurant or anything. So what have they've sent you rigs basically where you have to
Right.
record from, or
Right. I've had like for the dubbing stuff, like I've had rigs sent. So basically they give you a rig. They send you a Pelican case, you know, a big plastic, like sturdy plastic case that has a laptop, an audio interface, mic, and all that stuff, and
it's
the
like
TV.
it,
They
it's
send
like
me a
if you
TV.
choose this,
Yeah, you could choose. You could either go into like a
yeah,
SAG,
yeah,
approved facility, or like they send you the rig. And for
yeah,
a few of them, I've elected to do the rig, and it's kind of a trip. You know, you deal with the director over Zoom, and then whoever is the audio engineer, like remote desktops into the laptop and handles all the recording through that. But recently, a couple of weeks ago, I actually went into the actual studio for the first time, and that is a little different because like there's only the audio engineer in the entire studio, and they're behind the wall, and everybody else, the director, producers, and all that stuff, everybody's in through a Zoom meeting, so, and it's just me in the studio.
Yeah, that's crazy. So yeah, going back because I've directed a couple short films and a couple other projects and stuff like that. But,
Right.
How is it for you? Like, how was it? I guess voice acting for video games. I mean, was there rehearsals or did you guys just like boom, they just record everything? Like, okay, do it like this and then do it like that, or was it like a series of runs? Because I obviously I know like when video game play happens, right? Obviously there's those scenes in between like the gameplay, right, where it's like almost like a movie scene. It's like that mocap stuff. But there's certain times when you're like in the gameplay, you're recording like, oh, you can't touch that door, blah blah blah, while Laura's
like incidental lines.
Yeah, like, so how was that process, or how was that?
So
process?
it's definitely like for anything like the big AAA titles like Tomb Raider or like Last of Us, anything where you see like a characters interacting in a cinematic, in a cutscene, all that stuff is usually taken care of in mocap. Basically, when you like what we just saw in that clip, we're in this big volume, the motion capture stage. Basically, they call that a volume, and we're all wearing the reflective marker get up, and all that stuff takes place. We get to work with the other actors. It's a lot like camera work in terms of like you're working with the other actors. It's even more so like like theater work, like live theater work, where you run the entire scene. So from beginning to end, just like a theater scene, as opposed to like when you're working on set, you get a master, you run that scene once and then you get coverage from this way, and you might run the scene in bits and pieces. You might get a pick up here, pick up there, and you're doing it multiple times, just like, but little bits of the scene. With motion capture, you're doing the entire scene over and over again. And then, of course, getting adjustments in between. And the interesting thing that you don't have to worry about, that you do have to worry about when you're doing on-camera stuff, is that you don't have to worry about coverage, because everything is everything is captured in 3D space. So all you are really is like is a data set of dots. And then they take that data set and they map it onto a character. So
that's interesting. So I guess to kind of further explain to people, because I think not a lot of people know like the way things are shot, right? So a lot of times when we shoot, did you mention this already?
I don't know, okay. Like the master and then the coverage, right? Yeah,
so the way things are set, right? You see a film, usually it's shot in multiple takes because you're trying to get different performances, but you're also trying to shoot multiple angles. And so we reshoot those multiple angles. So you have a wide, then you have or a wide, aka master, and then you have a close up of that person, close up of the other person, close up of whatever particular items, maybe a close up of the drink, or even medium close ups, or even camera movements. So it takes tons and tons of time, right? So that's why you hear like these movies being shot for a month, and people only shooting a page, maybe 2 pages of script per day because of that.
Yeah, that's like a good pace. Two pages a day.
So what Earl is saying with motion capture, the great thing is it's just capturing all that data, so they don't have to shoot. They only have to shoot for performance purposes.
Right.
It's not like, oh, let's move the camera up closer, for that close up, and let's do that close up of his, of maybe his eye twinkling or whatever. It's all captured in there in all of his performance, because all those little dots is data that's being pushed to the computer, and the computer like computes it all and puts it together.
Right, and then you can move the camera after the fact in the 3D space.
Yeah.
So like on a mocap shoot on an 8-hour day mocap shoot, we'll go through like 10-15 pages.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
it's a lot, dude. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of work on the actor's part, on the part of the actor, because we have to get
Be
those
honest.
10 pages, down
Yeah.
for a shooting
Wow.
day.
So about that, do you guys rehearse, or is it?
There's a little bit of rehearsal. I mean, there's not
Right.
like tons. The process has been different between the games. Like the first Tomb Raider, we had a rehearse. We would have a rehearsal for tech and acting 1 week, and then we would come back a week later and then shoot.
Mhm.
So there was that. But for the subsequent games, we would show up on set. We would do a table read before the scene, and we would run it a couple of times, 2 or 3 times. But you're expected to have everything down cold, like
Did they?
and get your marks down like
Mhm.
immediately. So it's like there's not a lot of room for error or messing around. Like
Yeah.
you get your marks. You have to memorize your marks and the timing and all that stuff. Just do it now.
Yeah. So it trips me out because it's like, obviously you're a seasoned actor up to that point, but
Right.
it just seems like that's a huge risk for a company to take. Be like, hey, let's get this guy.
Right.
But so what was the audition process? I don't think we really went into that. Was it pretty intensive? Like for them to kind of see how you took your direction and all, or how you took their direction and.
Yeah, it was kind of intensive. It is very much it's very much like an on-camera audition, except I would even say that it's a little more they emphasized
What's up, buddy? Look at the dog.
hey Arizona, hey but they emphasized your movement a little more. So like I remember for the initial audition for Tomb Raider, it was not only the acting stuff, but it was like they had me like go outside and then kind of pantomime like how I moved, like just walking around and like pointing a make-believe gun and all that stuff. But yeah, it's and they go through 2 rounds. At least there was an initial audition and then a callback for that. So it was kind of intense. And for the I remember for the callback, it's they want you like cold, like off book, and it's basically like a working session. You have the director there, and they'll give you adjustments to see how you do with it.
Yeah.
So
we actually have a question from DJ Pone, last week's interviewee. He says, "Do you get to see your audition competition?"
No.
Yeah, did you get to see the other people?
Those.
You didn't get to see any?
No.
Because I've known like in other auditions for other things, a lot of times you're
Right.
sitting in a room with like multiple other people. You didn't get to see anyone at all, huh?
I mean, I didn't get to see them work, but I did get to see
Yeah.
the people in the room with me.
Yeah.
Like and I do remember like one of the audition for the initial audition. It's a lot of people that I had seen around town like multiple times because we're all going for the same roles, kind of. So
yeah, so that's one thing you guys that for the people who don't really know much about this industry is like a lot of times when they're like, oh, asking for Asian male, you're gonna see the same people.
Yeah,
basically
you're gonna see the same people of your type. Like,
Yeah.
and sometimes you'll be cool with these people,
Yeah.
Hey man,
Yeah,
I'm glad you got that one, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of them are homies, and some of them, you just definitely. I've definitely heard stories where it's like, oh yeah, hey, and times where I've done things or put on projects, you'll be like, oh, how do you know so-and-so? It's like, oh, we met at an audition or whatever.
Yeah, dude, we were going out for the same role. He got it, but it was cool. He kicked ass, so
it's great that everyone's so supportive of each other, and I'm hoping more so now that there's more out there for
Right.
everyone, not everyone fighting for the same stuff. Right?
We used to be fighting for scraps back in the day.
Yeah. yeah. So let's see what else we got. Yeah. So acting in video games. Yeah, I don't know. I just find it so interesting because obviously I've talked to a lot of actors who worked in short films and
Right,
features and all
right.
that stuff. But yeah, I just find it so fascinating working in video games.
It's definitely cool, man. It's definitely a different world. It kind of sucks that like the two worlds don't acknowledge each other really.
Oh
You know?
yeah, really?
Yeah, they're separate, and but yeah, it's definitely an awesome industry to be part of. I would say I've had a lot of fun and met a lot of really cool people working in this field, and I'm glad, you know.
Yeah. So yeah, because of this, do you feel like they're kind of pushing you more towards like the video game stuff and animated projects, or your agents? I mean.
I mean, I do like my voiceover agent. They definitely that's like what they're pushing me, you know, for animation, because it's, as you know, it's like in the industry you have agents for you know different things. Like, you know, I have an agent for, well, I don't have a theatrical agent right now, but like you have a theatrical agent for like TV and film, then you have one for commercials, and then you have one specifically for voiceover. So, you know, yeah, my voiceover agent, yeah, pushes me out for like animation and video games a lot.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. And well, do you have a preference, or it doesn't matter? Just
In between like on camera and voice work, or
yeah.
honestly, like I didn't have any idea what voice work would be like, but like I love doing it. It's like I miss doing more on camera stuff. I still love doing on camera, but like voice work is like literally you get to roll in like in your undies, not your undies, but you can't roll in your undies anymore. That's crazy. Did I just say that? I didn't mean it. You get to roll in pajamas basically, and you know, yell into a mic for an hour and a couple hours, maybe 4 hours at max, and then yeah, you're good for the day. Don't have to worry about makeup, at least as far as like straight voiceover work goes. But yeah, I dig it. If I could do this for the rest of my life, I'd be cool with it, you know.
And it's crazy. I mean, there's people who do it for, you know, you look at people's credit rolls and it's all like animated stuff or whatever. Or even in mine, you know, like we work with a lot of voiceover people, you know, like for promos, and that's all they do.
That's a different group of people too. Like the promo guys aren't necessarily the animation guys, aren't necessarily the narration guys, aren't necessarily the the video game guys. They're like completely different pools of people, and some people like they'll do the crossover, but a lot of people don't.
Yeah. So going back, because I'm just looking at these pictures, and obviously there's an evolution of Jonah. You know, I think he had a lot more hair, and then he kind of went like that, like little. Are you copying his hair, or
yeah?
Did they tell you? Did they tell you that there was going to be a, I don't know, so and so evolution of this guy, or
no?
And was the casting like? Did they? I guess the casting were like, hey, you have to look like this guy, or we're going to model you like this guy, or.
They didn't cast for like because they're not using like my likeness at all, right?
Yeah.
But they casted for type, definitely.
Yeah.
I still remember the dude, I can even look up the initial casting, what it was for.
Yeah.
And
yeah, if you could find it, that'd be kind of interesting to hear.
Let's see. But if I remember correctly, it was like
husky voice, sultry tones.
The where is it? Seeking generally brown-skinned, warm-weather island dweller that is not of European, Hispanic, or African descent. Needs to be a heavier guy with a teddy bear feel.
Feel.
Yeah, needs to be sound big but mellow. So.
Oh, okay, I can see that. I could hear that. Okay.
So they definitely we're looking for.
Everyone, close your eyes, and then Earl, go ahead and talk to us real quick.
Laura. I know you think your instinct is a weakness, but it's a strength. Trust them. We need you, Laura.
Oh man, I got the chills, baby. I felt like I was hugging a big teddy bear just now. Oh man, that's too good, dude. Oh wow, awesome. Did you just memorize that just now, or you is that a line you remember from?
That's a line I remember because literally that when I was cutting together my voice reel, that was the one I used.
Okay,
So I heard it like hundreds of times.
gotcha. Cool. Well, thank you so much. If anyone doesn't have any other questions, just give it up for Earl Baylon. Types 1 in the chat, please. Thank you.
Thanks,
And
folks. Thank you so much
so
for having me, bro.
yeah, thank you, man. Like seriously. And it was great having you on shooting this shit last Wednesday. That was a crazy podcast.
Oh my god.
If anyone wants to listen to that podcast, definitely. I normally only have the second section of it because I had to delete the first one because of certain things we won't get into.
Happened.
Yeah, but definitely take a look.
Yo,
But yes,
dude.
so Earl, while you're, I know during this pandemic you said you've been streaming a lot more. Where can we tune into you and check you out?
I'm everywhere. On Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, Instagram, and on Twitch as Early Be Good. That's EAR. It's right there. EARLYBGOODE. I kind of took this last year to like unify all my online handles, so I'm
For sure.
Early Be Good everywhere.
Yeah, that's what I did too. I had to I was like, oh man, consolidate. Luckily, they let you change it after the fact. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it makes it easier. Cool, man. Well, yeah, and then I know, are you still doing Pangeekery and Pots and all that stuff too?
Yeah, so Pots and Pangeekery is a thing that happens every other week. It's me and Oddball, Arnold Bosingat. We kind of do our geeky takes on cooking, dishes that are inspired by things in geek and pop culture. So, for example, our second episode was actually Star Wars themed, and the title of the episode was the ship that made the queso run in less than 12 parsnips. So we had 3 different dishes that day. We had a mulita with like red and black kind of accents, and we called that our Darth Mulitas. And then we had a lightsaber battle, which was like multicolored deep fried with vegetables, and then like fries. And then we had a blue rum chata, which we called our banana rum chata. So we call that our banantha milk, like bantha milk, but
yeah,
Yes,
and I know in a lot of our chats we talk about food, so definitely check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, that's bi-weekly, every other week. Nice, and nice. Still doing Pangeekery. That's currently on hiatus, but that's gonna pop back up coming. I'm doing a podcast that we just started today. Me, Justin Keyson, and Patricio Janelsa, who directs, who directed the Lumpia. And basically, we're just doing deep dives on several like geek intellectual properties. Today was Willow. We're gonna do Transformers next, and then we're gonna go really, really as nerdy as we possibly can with you. So
awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you for stopping in and letting us have a chatting with you and letting us into your world, and definitely enjoy your story, and hopefully everyone else did too. I also put in the chat lumpiamovie.com. That's the feature that Earl was talking about.
Yes, sir.
I know it's at the Hawaii International. I don't think it's out in anything else yet though, right? So,
no, not yet. Today is actually the last night of the Hawaii International Film Fest.
Yeah.
So
I think if you click on the movie, I think you can get into the mailing list and find out the next time it's going to be.
Yeah, that'll probably be a good thing to do. If you get on the mailing list, follow Lumpia Movie. It's Lumpia Movie on that's the handle on all the socials as well. So yeah, if you want to get updated on that, stay updated on that. Yeah, follow that.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Earl. Have a good night, man. And let's
you have a good night. Thank you so much for having me. Hope y'all had a good time.
Are you all done? Where's your drink? Or did you finish it?
Oh no, I got a refill. So.
Oh, okay, there you go. Cheers, man.
Cheers. Cheers, bro.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. But thank you guys so much. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. All right,
later. See everybody.
Peace.
See you, chat.
All right.